if you're called to a place where your work is to empower, let's say, single ladies, or probably to empower farmers to become sustainable economically, if that's your role, then expect that you'll always attract that environment, even when you like it or not. You'll always find you're attracting farmers who have not unsustainable farming practices or in a certain nature, and that become like what you really easily identify or attract. So that gives you a sense of this could be a niche, or this could be a need in a niche that, of course, it's me who need to address. The thing is, sometimes we don't journal our life. So we leave it very casually, and we don't be able to journal and see the patterns that accrues from it. So I want to give a few minutes just to hear whether is there any of those elements of reflections that maybe has triggered during the course of the week, and maybe you want to share your experience as we get into the next step, including also convictions. I know we have a topic. Sorry, Jen, go ahead. I don't know. You had mentioned something.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, like you said, it's a reflective exercise. Sometimes it takes a journey to continually deep dive into questions. So as you're speaking, I want to discuss about divine enablement. And I remember one time a client called me to train them on just strategy, just strategy. I thought they were having a strategy session, but they needed just a view about strategy. Then when I got to the location, I found a team set. It was a church, a team of board members set for a strategy development session. And that's not the brief I'd gotten. But now here are board members and their senior managers, and they were set for a strategy session. And with a flip of a second, and at the end of the day, we had done a strategy development session. So I don't know how my mind just quickly moved to think of how you're going to do it. All the knowledge I've ever had came to mind, groups and all that, models. And at the end of the day, we had a draft of a conversation. And that kind of called me to some level of braveness, or affirmation that there's so much Jane can do, and it's not, all the experiences I've had on my journey are for such a time. So it called me to a level of boldness. And I've realized with that, there's just an awareness of Jane can, one of my gifting is areas of empowerment, training, and all that. So I've realized it's given me a level of confidence to explore areas I would not have ordinarily done, and has shattered a lot of limitations on what Jane can do in that area. So even if today somebody told me, Jane, would you do this? The first thing is yes, I'll do it. Then somehow I navigate the journey.
Yeah.
Number two, on pain, the seasons of my pain or some of my downtimes have pointed me to knowing God as my father, as my provider. I've gone through seasons where I'm scared, I'm not sure on provision, but God will just translate things that show provision. And at some point, I found myself at journey saying, but God, this is just God. I didn't know how, I didn't know what, but just God provides. So it's been a journey, and I think I shared of, can I trust God as a provider that he'll figure it out?
Yeah.
And that has been a beautiful journey of just learning to trust God as my provider, where in seasons where pain was, like there's lack from that point of view. There are many other aspects of pain. Now, I've talked to two of my friends, not deeply, not with intentionality that I'm going somewhere, but there's something they say that I'm a carrier of favor. I'm a carrier of favors, and I kind of unlock minds and favor. I am still crystallizing what that means, but I kind of figured out what they are saying.
Yes.
But he said it's a journey, and maybe as I have a list of people I want to talk to, I'll probably get an awareness of where this is all about.
Wow. That's great. That's amazing. I think as you go through this process, one of the things that is usually critical is that you'll always start seeing how to journal your life. So some of these sometimes get unnoticed. It gives you an opportunity to start actually journaling your life, and even the things that sometimes you consider obvious or like they are just life. Sometimes as you get to adulthood, there are things we just dismiss or ignore and say, it's just about life, and you move on. You discover actually behind those things that you're dismissing, they could just be experience of an adult. What do you expect of, when you are in this age and in this whatever, and you dismiss. Yet actually behind them, there is a lot of signals. I call them like signals or pointers that God is transmitting towards the realization of your purpose or towards alignment of your life. But we use our cognitive, which is kind of a distraction by itself, to interpret them as normal, ordinary life issues. But they are not ordinary. There are some extraordinary experiences in the ordinary life that gives you pointers to your life, but ignore. So I like that journal around, for example, the divine enablement, that you facilitated a whole workshop and a strategy workshop which you had not prepared. So you are not planned or prepared for, but God gives you that enablement. Now the thing is, doesn't mean that strategy is your purpose. No, it doesn't mean that, but if you diagonalize that experience, you actually start seeing some footprint of God's aspiration or God's intent into your life. Probably you're somebody who can be able then to allow people to put their thoughts together and coordinate a certain course, allow a certain, whether it's a strategy or they are planning to Mount Kenya, to climb Mount Kenya, doesn't matter. Okay. We find like that was kind of a ground of something that God can or will divinely enable you to be able to fulfill. And that's what happens. So you don't now interpret the event on the you don't interpret the event on the face value. You try to peel the onion now. So you try to peel the onion. Why would God allow you to facilitate a whole strategy session that you had not planned for? If you start now peeling the onion behind that, it's when you start saying, okay, so probably I'm that person who can be able to allow people put their thoughts together and make them have a convergence, or I can influence 1, 2, 3 that, people can get a sense of direction. That start becoming a pointer. And then after you become conscious about it, you start seeing other connections again. You start seeing now other connections elsewhere. Then later you'll see a convergence taking shape. And that's how typically we usually get to later discover, wow, I've always been having this sense of direction, but I was not aware or I wasn't conscious about it. Okay? It's usually very, very critical. So I think that's a good share. The issue of the pain, of course, going through the moment where do you really trust God, and therefore you get yourself into a state where your strength is depleted, your fuel is gone. So, and at this moment, purely you have to trust God. Now you peel the onion now, because it doesn't mean necessarily that exact event itself is really in its own interpretation, purpose-led, or it's directing you to purpose. But you find behind it, there's something you're being tested. Either there's a qualification you're being drawn to, so that you become and then you do. Because without going through that, I think I gave my experiences. What I know that I was able to struggle a little bit in my early stage of business, in the entrepreneurship journey, and I literally went through the depth of it. Today, I learned so many mentorship groups for business founders. I don't know what I'll be telling them, literally. I'll have no story because that experience was to make me have a sense of, like David, killing the bear and the lion in the wilderness, when he's coming to face Goliath, actually, he's saying, God, the God who helped me kill the bear and the lion, he has a reference point. So the pains, the experiences, the past victories, you always find they become your stepping point on the course that you're taking in the line of your life purpose. So thank you so much for sharing that, Jane. That's great. Welcome, Shamin. Good to see you.
Thank you so much. I'm not a sports scholar, so I'll be mostly on mute.
Okay.
Unless you need me, you can pull me out.
All right.
Do you want to see?
Pleasure. I understand. I think I had seen some poster around the same. I can see.
Yes.
I can see
Thank you.
Amazing. And you look weird. You have a vuvuzela. All right, enjoy, no problem. Good. So, Babla, I don't know that you're able to share. So we are sharing based on the various reflections that there are many, whichever probably you may have interacted. You don't have to have interacted with all of them. Just whichever of them that you may have interacted, you can help us just share and appreciate your experience. Babla, anything you want to share? Babla, feel free if you are in a position to share. Light, I think Barbara maybe not be in a position to share, which is okay. I think we can continue. Good. So thank you so much for that quick share. That's very helpful. We are going to today talk about some few concepts again. And today we are going then to introduce the aspect of the purpose map. But before then, I always love also try to demystify some of the things that happens, especially in this purpose coaching. And there are things that people get confused about. And one of those things is the ikigai. I don't know whether most of us have interacted with something we call ikigai. Any one of us? Anybody who has interacted with ikigai? The ikigai concept?
I think I have, but not deeply.
Okay. All right. Good. So there's a concept called ikigai, and people get confused, especially when they interact with that. And I always receive these questions. Oh, so how to discover my purpose? I just need to get the singularity from the ikigai. So they use the ikigai as a basis to define their purpose. Ikigai is a Japanese terminology to a large extent, denoted to mean purpose. But when you interrogate it more fits to be meaning, not purpose. And I'm saying that consciously because I know it's a model that has been used by many people, but sometimes it doesn't give you the direction of life. So I always like going through that process a little bit just to help demystify that, because it can also confuse you because there are different versions of knowledge you're going to interact with in the market in the same topic. And if you're not careful, some may lead you actually to a bit of more confusion. So Ikigai is a model. I'm going to share a screen just to walk through that briefly. And then I'm going to explain some of the differences that I see within it. Okay. Oh, thank you, Barbara. I had not seen your chat. You shared it. That's okay. So let's just go through what we call Ikigai, because it's also important just to also expose ourselves to different concepts out there in the market. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, I can.
All right, good. So there's this thing we call Ikigai, okay? Ikigai. So what it is and what is the difference between Ikigai and how can it help you even when it comes to discovering your purpose? I often use Ikigai not as a purpose discovery, but just as an awareness. It's an awareness, not discovery itself. because itself may not necessarily give you the purpose, but it's good to have an awareness. Remember, we talked about raising your awareness. So it's just good to have that sense of awareness, which helps you then be able to interrogate. And in this space, you have an open mind. So you interact with as much as possible, but just be having an open mind, only that you be careful on what you converge, which is very important. Mm-hmm. Now, Ikigai is founded mostly on a principle in Japan. And Japan has been researched to be among the countries that has very high percentage of centenarians. There are people who have lived more than 100 years. And when research are done, they are around 10, and I handle them in other forums. There are 10 principles of Japanese life longevity and how they have been able to live that long. It's one of the countries that there's a lot of resilience. You know, people have built resilience in so many things. And I have concepts for Japan. I have concepts for Israel. I've also done another study of what we call the 10 Jews principles for Israel, and I teach them mostly in the business classes. And then there's the Japan 10 principles again in Japan, which are very, very strong. They are life principles, and you can apply them. They may not necessarily give you purpose, no, but they're just good for raising consciousness and awareness. Now, we talked about 4 quadrants of what you love, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for, and what you're good at. When I bounced on these, I think it was more than almost 20 years ago. It actually also confused me, because I found myself mostly when I began my journey, I was doing things that I can be paid for. I've graduated from campus, and therefore I can do this kind of coding, I can do some analytics, I can do, and so that becomes the first level of engagement in life. And most of people say you start there, where even the course you do in campus doesn't necessarily mean that because really you liked it per se, not necessarily. But sometimes it's what is marketable, which is where many people get confused. I started January now. What is that which I am paid for, that I am good at, that I love, that the world needs, and the convergence there is what they call it. Now, let's go through this. So the intersection between what you love and what you're good at, we call it the passion. Okay, good enough. That's pure passion. You love it and you're good at it, because again, to have a passion for something don't are good at it, then maybe frustration. Then something that you love and the world needs, then you call it mission. Then something that the world needed. So there's a gap in the market to fill, and you can be paid for it. So people can exchange money. You call that vocation. And then there's something that you are good at, and you can be paid for it. I think that's an amazing thing, where you're good at something and people can pay for you. And that's what you call profession. So you have passion, mission, vocation, profession. A good way of looking at it, and it's always good for exploration, purely for exploration, which I usually advise even my coaches just to also just have a reflection anyway. Itself is not necessarily purpose. I would actually more call it meaning. It's trying to find meaning in what you do. And those two terminologies can be confusing. Somebody's telling you, I'm looking for my purpose, or I want to find meaning in what I do. And I'll give you some of the concepts maybe to think about. I've done a video which is on YouTube, which you can actually watch later. So when you pursue passion, or intersection between passion and profession, if that's what necessarily you're doing, remember you're good at it, you have a certain sense of satisfaction, but there's a bit of feeling valueless. There's no regard to yourself. It's like you're just giving, and you're doing it, you are passionate about it, but there's no value. You don't find any value yourself. You feel a bit valueless. When you're pursuing passion and mission, an intersection of the two, you get a sense of delight. But you feel like you've just been this world for other people, they are benefiting. You have had people talk about, oh, you're making other people succeed and you're not succeeding. You're making other people wealthy, but yourself are not wealthy. You know, you feel like you're delighted. Yes, it's like martyr. You are like a martyr. you came to burn yourself to light others, which it's very common because you're doing something missional. You hear people saying, I'm on a mission. but they love it. So it's something they're passionate about. So the sense of delight, because you're impacting people literally. You are there, you're pathway for other people, but you feel a bit of sense of it's not well. If you pursue mission and vocation, there's a sense of excitement, but there's complacency as well, but there's a sense of uncertainty. Now, if I am to judge the world most of the times, many people are actually in this stage. The world needs something that you're doing, so it's a bit missional, but and also it's vocational, meaning you can be paid for it. But there's a lot of excitement as you do. People are happy. That's why you don't just mistake excitement by fulfillment. No. So people are excited. I'm excited to be in this job because I can interact. I'm interacting with the people. I am serving customers. So there's a bit of excitement and all that. But on the other side, there's a bit of uncertainty of, if this job disappears, this is where people actually get scared on retrenchment, redundancies, and all that, all disruptions on, let's say, AI and other things. Is actually because of this. Mostly what they are doing looks like they want to need it, but there's a sense of uncertainty. Then the last one is the intersection between vocation and profession. So majority of people are in the last two. You find there's a bit of comfort. I think you can assimilate, you can relate to this. Comfort is because you can meet all your basic needs. You can take your children to a good school. You already have a house, maybe you're paying a mortgage. You are driving a good car. You're living in a place that really you say decent in terms of housing. And you have a good club you are associating with. So I mean, life, you're not surviving per se there. About yourself, you're good there. So you're comfortable. So it's not worry there. You have saved enough pension that you probably can be able to survive even when you outdraw it to a portion of it. So it's a bit of comfort. But you know what? You feel empty. That's actually where majority. So if I these last two in the current marketplace, maybe I'll give it 90%. 90% of people actually are in these last two. They're excited, so they wake up every day and they're excited about the work. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm in this position. I'm able to serve customers and solve problems and challenges and needs in the society and all that. It's a bit of excitement, but again, you're uncertain. I'm not so sure how tomorrow will be. And the last one where there's comfort because the basic needs of life are met. And you can afford a holiday, you can go anywhere you want. But on the other side, there's a bit of emptiness. Why? Because remember, like when you are doing gift inventory, if you remember, you are saying sometimes you find what you're doing. Let's say you're using out of the 5 gifts, you're only utilizing 2. There's always something that will be telling you these other gifts here, you are not giving them engagement. And that makes you also feel empty. Or because what you're doing is not necessarily aligned to your purpose, you still feel a bit of emptiness. As much as all the basics of life are done. Meaning, you're not struggling with life. You've met the basic things. If it's education, you have attended the best education that you could attend. But deep down, still you feel emptiness. It's one of the biggest calamities. Now, in the Ikigai model, the intersection of all of them is what they call Ikigai. They call it your Ikigai. Now, in Japan, what they do, even when you are young as a child, they try to make sure a child discover their Ikigai. So what they try to do, and I'll tell you where the problem with this model is. It's a very good model for finding meaning, not necessarily purpose, okay? So the finding of the Ikigai is helpful because it helps you converge into something that you can attach meaning to. I'm not just a worker or an employee just pushing papers and processes and procedures and all that. I'm able in what I do to see the meaning, how I really contribute into value. And that is very important also because what it does, it gives you consolation. It gives you a certain consolation of the heart. May not necessarily give you purpose. It's a good exploration. Now, I've talked about meaning. Now, this is the difference between meaning and I'll share with you the video later where you can go and watch that. So you can see how I've actually explained the difference between meaning and purpose. It gives you meaning. Now, meaning is a deep introspection of an interpretation of an experience to find something positive. I'll give you an example. You can go through, let's say, a toxic employer. But because of the toxic employer, that experience makes you probably reflect, should I work, continue working here? And maybe even resign and go and do something else, where now you look back and say, wow, now I can see meaning for why I needed to be in a toxic employer. That prison there made me see the palace, like Joseph. You can be born in a poor family, and that makes you work hard. You work so hard. You become a hardworking person to bail your family out of poverty. And later now you look back and introspect and say, yeah, my contribution to working hard, actually, I can see it's because I was poor, and therefore I lacked, and that drew me to be able to be intentional in terms of working so hard to bail my family out of poverty. Notice what you're doing here. You are introspecting backwards. Meaning is always derived backwards. And that's where we have a problem. You can find meaning on almost anything, by the way. And that becomes very dodgy. Because even like now what you do, you can find meaning, even if what you're doing is not purpose-led. Even some self-inflicted issues, you can find it. There's always a statement where psychologists talk about even people who commit suicide, they'll tell you there's meaning they are finding. Why? You'll find somebody telling you this: I can't start to see my children suffer in future. That's why I've decided, all of us, me and my children, let's drown ourselves. That first statement is very positive. I cannot start to see my children suffer. Is that not a good thing? That's redemptive, honestly. That looks nice. It's a good intention. But the how, it's wrong. So you find somebody actually, we end up doing something bad, but inside, there was something good they are pushing. They're telling you, no, I better commit suicide than to see this. You actually find that somebody's like a savior, it's like a redeemer. I'm saying, let me sacrifice my life on behalf of what I don't want to see. Well, that's a wrong thing. But you can see you can find meaning in it. That by doing this something, there's no suffering. The child will not suffer in future because they are normal. But is that really the real essence of their life? No. So you can even survive an accident and you find meaning in that accident. Maybe that accident, the person came. In fact, there's somebody who told me he found their wife through an accident. So in an accident, people come to rescue, and you kind of are hit badly, and out of it you exchange contacts, and this person is checking on you. By the way, how are you now? And somebody come and check in your hospital, and you create a rapport, and later actually become your spouse. Nothing wrong with that. May not necessarily mean purpose. I hope you get what I'm coming from. But you can find meaning almost on anything. Now, meaning is usually found introspectively or backwards. Purpose is always predetermined before the event, and that's a major difference. Meaning, you introspect meaning after the experience. You go through something, then you try to interpret. That's how you get meaning mostly. But purpose is already it's always, the reason for existence will always be before even the existence itself. I hope you see the difference. Now, this is the way we conclude that conversation. The way we conclude it is very simple. We usually say this. Purpose, every purpose is meaningful. Any purpose, something that you're doing that is purpose-led is meaningful. But not every meaning is purposeful. If you're journaling, that's something to take. Every purpose is meaningful, but not every meaning is purposeful. Because to some extent, meaning can be derived from what you call positive thinking. Where somebody tells you, look for something positive. You are told for everything that happens, look for 3 things to give thanks and be grateful. That's okay. That gives you a sense of meaning. When you're able to attribute something positive on what you do, that becomes meaningful. But not every meaning, because some of the meaning may just be to question yourself, to just get a sense of delight. You like to look for something just to be grateful, and sometimes it can be just selfish because we want something that we can appreciate. But purpose may not necessarily be from that meaning. So the reason why I brought this conversation so that at least we don't get confused with some of these terminologies in the market. And they are there. When somebody will say, yeah, when I found meaning, that may not necessarily mean that they found purpose. You can find meaning without purpose. But there's part of the meaning that can be purposeful. That's okay. But not every meaning will be purposeful. I hope that connects and maybe shed some light as you go through this exploration again, because Ikigai is very helpful to just explore your life and just help you to know where you are. You know, then we do normal self-assessment. That's okay. That's good enough. Like now, I'd like to know, like, where do we find maybe ourselves? Either we started our journey in those 4 quadrants. Maybe I can play back the slide. I would love to hear from you. Where do you find maybe your life gravitating? Before and now. That could be a very good share. Would you find yourself in passion, mission, vocation, or profession? Any share? Any?
I think these are convergent now. Looking at it, there are things that are converging.
Okay.
But I would say it all started with what I can be paid for. That was the beginning of my journey.
Yeah.
Because looking back at how my profession, you study, you go to uni, you do something you didn't want to do, but you had to do it because you're in uni. You get out, career choices are limited, so you go by, you're like, wow, I have survival things, I have to pay bills. So that's where it began.
Yeah.
Then I think I've taken a transition, even in career, from many different perspectives to these other aspects of what I am good at,
yeah,
and what I love to do, and what I think will be my impact in the world as a mission. And I think it's continuous. I am discovering many things going on. So it's not now more of what you can be paid for, but it's not out of the game. It's not the driver.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. Thank you so much, Jane. That's a good share. Barbara, anything you want to share? Before I get to another, I want to clear another misconception after this, which is about passion. I know I promised that in our webinar previously. So talk about it briefly. Let's talk about anything that Barbara, I don't know whether you're in a state or maybe you share later. All right. I suspect you can put on the chat if you're not in a position to speak. That's still in order. Now, thank you so much, Jane, for sharing that. That's quite helpful. Let's continue. Other misconception now. This is also big. It's usually between passion and purpose. And I've tried to do 11 things that could be, in my own view, more differences between the two. You need both. You need passion generally. But the way people interpret it, from the way people look at it, it can be very, and especially motivational speakers, can be very misleading. Because not every passion, just as we are saying, not every meaning is purposeful. but you need also to find meaning in the purpose, because purpose is meaningful. Now, let's talk about this. Then you can tell me maybe where you feel you relate with these two parallax. I call them parallax. So there's passion and there's purpose. Remember, passion is an energy. It's purely an energy. It's the drive, the energy that burns from, within you to do something. So you are self-led. You don't require somebody to wake you up, and you have passion about it. Purpose is the reason for. It's the why. But you need passion, of course, to fulfill the why. That's no doubt you need. But that passion that usually is generated from purpose, we call it purpose-led passion, usually come from visioning and execution. Let's look at these differences. Number one, passion mostly is self-authored. It comes from within your heart. Purpose is assigned to you by your creator. Get the difference? Passion mostly will come from within. I'm passionate about this, something that's coming within. It's an energy within, and you're burning. It's like fuel in the engine of the car. So it's coming from within. That's why people say, I love adventure. But you loving adventure may have nothing to do with why you are born. It may have nothing. And it is good to have passion even for things that edifies you. I love doing something. That's okay. Sometimes it just bring more about you and be able to have holistic living, be able to have enjoyment and fun, no problem. It could be for yourself, but remember, purpose is for others. And let's look at the second one. Passion is self-centered to feed some selfish interest, mostly. I don't mean all the times, mostly. While purpose is for others, the planet, and how you impact generation. Purely external. So notice passion as sometimes is more self-centered. Let me give you a story for this, which can be a very thin line. There is actually somebody close to me who was an orphan, and is an orphan anyway. And he used to host, he's in the ministry, he used to host young people, teenagers, young adults into his house a lot, overnight, these sleepovers. And he loved doing it. So whenever we meet, I love seeing young people. I call them in my house, they sleep over. I love having these young people around me. And we go for sleepover, and you play some games with them, and they will have fun, they will dance through the night, and of course, in quote, he's mentoring them, which is good. I mean, that's there's meaning in that. Very good. And he was doing it every quarter sleepover, every quarter sleepover, every quarter sleepover, Now, one day, I had a conversation when I started my journey on purpose, and I'd gone through quite a lot in terms of experiences, and I'm always very intentional to question. So I asked one of the time we had a session, I'm kind of a mentor to the guy. So, and I was asking him, so why do you do what you do? Why do you mentor? You take people for these camps out there, you are in a certain city, tomorrow in another city, you're doing excursions, all this. Why? The guy, of course, I love adventure. I also love mentoring. So why, really? Why? We started digging that question. Why so what? Why so what? Why so what? It's a very dangerous question. Now, the end of it is this, and it was very sad. He actually came to acknowledge later, actually, I was not doing that for the people. I was trying to quench emptiness within me, loneliness within me, that I'm feeling lonely in my house. Of course, he's an orphan. He has been in a family that he's kind of deserted in a way. But it was very unconscious that he was motivated to attract people around him for actually himself. Very unconscious. But outwardly, looks like he's doing something missional and something compassionate and something mentorship, something that looks purpose anyway, outwardly. But behind the scene, he's fulfilling a selfish aspect of, I need people around me. I've been brought up lonely. I've been brought up in a very isolated environment. So every time I'm happy when I hang around people because they give me companionship. So the motivation is actually not necessarily the primary. May not be that you're impacting people. Yes, have fun. You're having stories. You're having testimonies. You're having tools. You're doing for discovery. All those things. But behind the scene, the primary need there is actually that you have a companion. Himself came to acknowledge that in one of our coaching conversations many years ago. It's almost over 10 years ago. And he told me, actually, I've discovered my motivation is not necessarily, wasn't. He still do it nowadays, but now in a different way, because now he was able to go through the process that now the motivation, he's able to silence his inner selfish interest of, I want to hang around people around me. It's you who is enjoying, not the others. So the motivation there is very wrong. So sometimes passion can be very misleading. So, but purpose mostly automatically from the word go is the reason for existence. So it's meant for you to handle how you impact others and how you impact the planet and generations to come. Number 3, passion keeps changing over time. It's short-lived. What you loved 10 years ago, I can assure you no longer have it most of the times. You keep changing based on exposure. Exposure can change your passion. Let me tell you what, purpose, whether you're in Greece, in England, in Germany, in China, you come to Kenya, you go to Uganda, you go to Guinea, purpose is very unique and consistently the same. Doesn't matter where you are. So it's a lifetime assignment, doesn't change as no retirement. Passion, you can always exit passion. The things I used to love 10 years, it is because of the knowledge you had that time or exposure. If you travel the world, you start getting new exposure. So if you anchor your life on passion, you'll keep on being like a variable. You'll keep on hoping, jumping from one career to another, one project to another, because you're following passion. Passion is always short-lived. That's why I'm very careful to tell people, do what you love. Chances are, 5 years, you'll hate that which you are doing now. If it was not anchored on purpose, you'll hate it and you start regretting again. I thought I loved. That's why I was speaking about transition the other day in a HR group. One of the things actually I was telling them is that we usually lose the change grip within 18 months. 18 months. You embrace a new change. Today you get another job. You are called so-and-so, a title, a director. 18 months, you lose grip of that thing. So in the beginning, you had a passion about it, excited and all that. 18 months, I don't know why even I signed up for this. I thought this is not what I thought I'm going to do. Number 4, it is fueled by sense of motivation. That's passion. It's a self-motivation generally. It's more of a drive. But the other one is a sense of obedience. Purpose is an obedience to an instruction. Because you didn't order yourself. Your life is ordered by God. So you are obeying. That's why you're seeking instruction over your life. In fact, that's what your purpose is. It's a discovery of the instruction over your life. Like the Moses who is being told, go and redeem my children of Israel. It's an instruction. It's not about me, your personal motivation. No. It's an obedience to an instruction. What are you obeying? What instruction are you obeying? That's purpose. Number 5, passion makes you compete with others. Because it's energy is very competitive. Energy is also very zealous and jealous, for lack of a better word. It can also be jealous or zealous, It is a zeal, and that zeal can actually draw you into competing with others. Let me tell you, purpose has no competition at all. In fact, it drives you to collaboration because you discover there's no way the heart will compete with the eye. The heart can never see. The ear can never compete with the nose. The ear can never smell anything. Now, purpose makes you unique because there's uniqueness in you that nobody else, even if you come and do exactly, there's no way we can compete. There's no way. Okay? That makes you a bit more self-secure. You're not in any competition. And it's you. And you is you. You can never be anybody else. That's purpose. Number 6, you can see there are so many. You fear losing passion. The time you are passionate about something, let me tell you, these people secure. That's why they compete. I hope you can hear me. I had a change on my speaker. Jane, confirm? You can still hear me? I'm audible?
Yes.
Okay, fine. I have seen some setting stage on my laptop here. Good. Now, passion, you fear losing it. And it's anything that to be a threat there, you want to fight it back. That's why competition comes. Let me purpose. There's no fear. You are not the owner. You are just a custodian of purpose, because it's not your purpose, it's God's purpose through you. So how do you do something you don't own? How to get that reflection? You tend to own passion. It's my passion. That's why you say, I love. It's I love. Purpose, you don't fear. Why? Because from the word go, is it yours? No. You don't give yourself purpose. You only discover it. It belongs to God, who is the author. So why fear something you don't own? It's God who owns it. So why fear? You can't fear anything that you don't own. Why we cling on the things, you cling on jobs, is because you want to own. You cling on relationships because you want to own a relationship. But if it is owned by somebody else, there's nothing to lose. You only lose that which you owned. That's the discovery there. Number 7, passion is focused on doing. If you find things like you find, most of the time you say, I am passionate about, or I love something, if you love doing. Purpose mostly is around the modeling of becoming. So who you becoming, not necessarily what you're doing. But by you becoming, you do. It's an interchange of the two. Passion yields more short-term gratifications, excitements of the short term. I love adventure. I love visiting children's home. Why is the question? I love, I love ministering to young single women or men. That's passion. They may give you a short-term gratification, but purpose has bit more, yields transformational lifetime impact. Passion leaves you empty if you fail. If you're something passionate about and then you fail in it, let me tell you, feel empty. For purpose, it gives you more depth. If I don't empower people to discover their life purpose, I don't feel empty. The more I feel indebted, I feel more burdened. I feel more, not empty. I feel more loaded with the zeal and depth to actually do it more, because I know I'm the one to do it. So it doesn't leave me empty. It leaves me more in depth or depthness of what I owe the world. Passion creates comfort zone after little achievement. When you're passionate about something, then you little achieve. In fact, it gives you proud. You become proud and arrogant sometimes. Things built on passion, let me tell you, these guys will be very arrogant. You're very arrogant. Sometimes, and to a large extent, because it's self-centered, you become more, it's a comfort, but it also gives you a bit of sense of entitlement and arrogance. On the purpose, it actually creates more depth to impact more, and more leaves you humble. Why? You look at it and say, you mean, God, you allowed me to be a transformation agent to these people? That doesn't leave you arrogant. It leaves you more humble. And in our purpose-led leadership, somehow we cover the topic of humility in depth. Humility comes from the appreciation that, wow, God, indeed, you allowed me to do this and to impact these people. Even when I was helpless, I didn't have the energy. I even didn't like it, first of all. Before you say, it's not even something you love. But when it is passion, there's how even you take glory to say, it's because I'm passionate about this. That's why I've been able to overcome, I've been able to achieve, because I love it. Small self-gratification there. The other one, actually, like what Jane, you're telling me, you facilitated the whole workshop. At the end of the day, actually look at it, here it's not about me. I didn't even have the skill or competency to do it. This was purely a divine embodiment. It helps you become humble. Number 11, passion utilizes only part of your gift. Most passions, you'll find it's only one gift maybe you're using. Just one. Maybe out of the 5 you discovered, maybe only one. But purpose, you'll always fight. You're utilizing all of the gifts together. The whole of yourself, not part of you. The whole of yourself. And that makes the difference. Now, as I said, I give a disclaimer. Do you need passion in life? Yes. But don't mistake passion with purpose. Not everything you're passionate about is purpose. Now, so that I don't confuse you more, I also want to give a sense of something here. there's a passion that can actually be purpose. And these are the desires to fulfill a need in other people. If that is the thing, the desire, the strong desire, but it must be coupled or supported by convictions, not just a good feel of, I love doing this. That one could be purpose-led. Okay? How that makes sense? Sorry, I've seen Barbara has dropped off. So I want you to maybe tell me what, Jane, because I think you're the one left here, what one of these that maybe strikes you in terms of just that aspect of differentiating between passion and purpose. Any quick reflection as Barbara comes back? Barbara, you're back. Okay, good. Any quick reflection about this? If I introduce now the purpose mapping. Any quick reflection?
Again, it's quite a heavy reflection, but this one turns out, passion is fueled by motivation, and I think it comes from just the many lessons you pick in life, and you're told about things that excite you, things that give you more joy and all that. But just reflecting that purpose is fueled by obedience, it's a flip to that.
Okay.
Yes, because the kind of awareness you ordinarily get is about the drive, the mojo, the passion. That is where your purpose is. So I think there's a lot of unlearning or just being aware. So that one stood out among the others. I'm sure by the end of class or in the week, I'll be able to consolidate reflections on the others.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And also the thing of, there's also this one that...
Hello?
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, I think Barbara is on a call. So go ahead, Jim.
This passion, when you fail, it leaves you empty. It leaves you, if you fail on a passion, you feel very empty, or you self-critique, self-condemn yourself. But I like what you said. Purpose leaves you more indebted to do more.
Yeah.
Deep thinking around that. So maybe with time, I'll be able to now map it out, what I'm seeing and what's the unlearning.
Yeah.
And crystallize the truths around purpose.
Yeah.
Because the for a long time we've been fed on passion, or you grow knowing passion is purpose.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I would say for now, right?
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you so much, Jen. That's great. Barbara, you want to share anything around this?
Sorry, I've been on and off. I think the key differences I have picked in terms of the focus, the scope, and motivation around purpose and passion. I am looking at purpose and while the purpose, rather passion, while purpose is focusing on making a positive impact, it is broader and more encompassing. It is driven by a sense of responsibility and by emotions. So us as leaders, I think what I'm reflecting on is that I need to draw a big line between passion and purpose, and be more inclined towards purpose than passion, because purpose will provide me a sense of direction and motivation, while passion can leave me in that arena where I'm taking things the way they are without necessarily finding meaning to what it is.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you so much. Yeah, and you brought in something there about direction. One of the things that is very common in passion has not necessarily a direction. It is just an energy. Energy can be used and misused. I can have a pack of uranium. I can make a bomb. I can make a nuclear plant to generate electricity. The same energy can be used destructively or constructively. That's the challenge with passion, because it's an energy. It's like the gift. Remember, you say the gifts are not directional. Energy is also not directional. It doesn't tell you to go south, north, east. So you can end up doing something passionate, but not necessarily mean it's actually in the direction of your purpose. So you need then, and I'm very careful on that statement, that you need passion, yes, but that passion should be generated mostly. My experience has been mostly the passion that comes from purpose, which we call purpose-led passion, usually accrue from two things: from execution. When you obey, the moment you obey the purpose, you gather the kind of courage and the drive along. Number two is visioning. So there's execution, which gives you an experience as you do it. You find when you're beginning to do something, you are afraid, and yet it may be your purpose. Sometimes you feel you don't have the capacity to do it, like Moses, like Gideon, everybody. But as you obey, you start getting or gathering or generating that passion. Number two is vision. And we'll cover vision later, I think around section 7 there. When you're doing visioning, there's a way it gives you a certain pull. That pull force generates energy. Because you can imagine, like I keep saying here, and I think I've expressed myself quite a lot, I'm in the journey to at least be able to raise 10,000. That's my goal in the world. 10,000 purpose-led, whether they be purpose-led leaders or purpose-led coaches in my life. I may get more, I don't know. That's God will enable me. But you know what? By just knowing I'm targeting to raise 10,000 purpose-led leaders and purpose-led coaches who I'm going to certify and do purpose coaching better than I do, by just that visioning, let me tell you, it'll give me passion that when I wake up every day, I'm looking for that opportunity. That's when I see Barbara express interest, I don't mind to get 100 people. One more, I've reduced the number. I get Jane, 2 more, I reduce the number. Why? There is a vision I have behind the scene that keeps me on track. That's a better passion than if it was you start with a passion, which sometimes is very kind of self-centered a lot. So that's very critical, and thank you so much for sharing that. Barbara, I've seen your chat previously about your good listening and finding meaning in content, as well as providing support to others. What the world needs, support others to find purpose and aligning it with passion to deliver their vision. Yes, yes. What can I be paid for? Coaching and mentoring to unlock people's potential. All right, good, fantastic. That's a great share. Now, let me then go into something that will begin today, but will not finish. We'll just begin today, but will not finish. And we might hang on here for the next couple of almost up to session 8 there, or almost to the end. And before I do that, there's another slide. This I'm just going to share as a note. As a way of still demystifying you some of the concepts that can be confusing, I'm sure you may also have heard this terminology also, where this terminology about most of the time we start from struggle. Life has a challenge and significant risk in meeting your basic needs. Then it's almost like the Maslow hierarchy of needs. Again, it's another thing that we demystify and say it's actually not very truthful. It's not truthful. So you start with the struggle, you go to survival mode, you're just fighting for your security and pays the bills and all that. Then you go to the role taps into your current, where if what you're doing taps in your current, or what even you're paying for, it kind of adds some personal value, then you call that success. Most people define success on that and help you achieve your goals. You wanted to buy a house, you bought a house, you get a sense of success. But then there's an aspect of creating excellence, committed to a purpose that is bigger than you and is about impacting others, and people talk about significance. So there's a terminology you hear people saying you're moving from struggle to significance, like you're going through the wheel. You go through the circle like that. It's a good model. It shows you how you can start from a point of struggle, a point of survival, because you can be paid for something and you want to bail out your bills, then to a success about achieving your goals. You wanted to live in a good house, you have it now. You wanted to drive a good car, you wanted to finish your PhD, you have finished. So you have sense of success. But then finally is a level of significance. So another attempt, and I have so many other models. Anyway, these just are samples of some of the things that I see people use out there, almost referring to the same aspect of purpose, but in different way. Now, let's talk about purpose mapping. In the purpose journey, we usually use a map which helps us to be able to kind of define our purpose in a more in a graphical way, just a way that you can be able to visualize. There are people who do what we call vision boards, and vision boards have helped because they help you be able to calibrate your life and put something visual, because we more are visual beings. And when you visualize something, you are able to literally be able to also have a certain sense of seeing the future than when it is not visualized. For us, we use something we call purpose map. It's very helpful. And I'm going to show you quickly something I want to edit briefly before I bring it back. Good. So, in the beginning, it's what we call your life purpose blueprint, which is a discovery. I think that's what we've been doing, and we still have a long way to go. We call this purpose mapping pyramid or Canva. So you begin by defining your blueprint. When you define your blueprint, this means you determine your identity, and then, of course, discover your purpose and how you impact. Then you combine with what we call your growth, scaling, and sustainability model. It's one thing to discover that my purpose is 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's another on how do I grow in it? How do I scale it? How do I make it sustainable? So you can see those two, the triangles are inverted and they kind of meet at the point. Where they meet is where we talk about diversification or role of singularity. You usually say that never try to diversify before you converge. Many people are trying to start new things, diversify their life, but they have not yet converged into a point. I am a person who says, yes, diversification is important, but when you have found your singularity. How that makes sense? You don't start diversifying even your business before you have found a niche. There has to be one thing that holds everything together. The moment you get that singularity, then you can diversify around it. But when you try to diversify before you have a singularity, you always get frustrated because they are chased after the wind. You'll be moving helter-skelter. That's why people keep on moving from one job to another. They're trying to even start multiple business. I start a college, tomorrow you start whatever. I have no problem with that if at all you can show me the singularity first. What is the constant in all those things you're doing? I think for me, when I got that is where my life became very easy, because I can comfortably diversify too many things. And the people who tell me, Kapla, I think you're doing too many things. You're doing strategy on one side, management consultancy, you do HR, you do purpose coaching. But I tell them, I have one singularity. In everything I do, if there's one thing I try to push is a mindset transformation towards the line of purpose. So if that is my singularity, then I can diversify the how, not the why. You don't diversify purpose, you diversify the how, which are mostly the mission or mandate. So I can start a college, I can start a school, I can start an academy, I can start a consultant. You can do many things, but of course in a calculated way, but there has to be a certain singularity in all that which you're doing. So never diversify before you converge. It is upon this then that we build our purpose map. Again, the same story. You have your blueprint, you have your purpose-led growth, scaling, and sustainability. Now, let's try to go through the purpose mapping. I'm only just going to walk you through the 10 steps, but this is now where we are going to spend a lot of time populating this map. And I'm going to send you a blank template that you can be able to fill in later afterwards. Notice what is the beginning point? Conviction. Now, this is the way we complete that statement. And they are in form of questions. What is my convictions of needs in people and planet that I am the solution. I hope you get that paraphrase question. Which are my convictions on the needs in other people or planet, which I am the solution? Hope you get that clear. I am the solution, not somebody else. I am the solution. That's how you ask yourself that question. We are going to begin there. That's why I told you to do the other reflections, because that's actually usually the foundation. Journal your convictions. I'm going to share with you part of my 5 convictions that I usually use, and especially the one I used when I was discovering my journey. Number 2, who do I impact? We call that my impact niche. So you start with the needs. The needs are not for you. Notice, the needs are in the society, in the community, in the people, in the planet. When Nelson Mandela is fighting about apartheid, the need is not necessarily for him. It is for other people to get liberation in South Africa. When Jesus was coming to die, he's not dying for himself. He's dying because there was separation between man and God in Genesis 3 after the fall. So his coming was redemptive. So he's attached to the need. But then there's a niche. Who are you called for? The reason I was even telling you to journal your environment, and I hope you take that assessment very seriously. You're not going to be able to populate this map if you don't actually get into that those reflections we are talking about. Niche is a subset of planet and people that you highly impact. And I'll share with you, for example, myself, I impact 6 types of people, but I have high impact on 2 types. I have 6 in total, but there are 2 subsets that actually form my niche. And I have a way in which I am able to prioritize it based on impact, where I have high impact. You can impact 10 people, but there's one that will have higher impact than the others. So the question is, how do you identify that niche? Okay. Number 3 is, how do I impact? I call that my missional mandate. How do I impact? How do I impact others? That's my missional mandate. Okay. Very critical question to ask yourself as you go through this journey. Let's go on. Number 4. How do the people I impact change and transform? How do they change and transform? It's one thing to say I impact single ladies, I impact young men, I impact drunkards, if you're called for drunkards. I impact poor people because I'm able to give them models to create wealth. Question is, how do they change and transform? There's what you do. What you do is missional mandate. How they change and transform, guess what? Do you know actually that's now become your purpose? In fact, that's part of the convergence. How the other people are changing and transforming is more important than what you are doing to impact them. You can say, I impact people through teaching, coaching, mentoring. That is number 3, how you impact them. But how they change and transform, as I am coaching, what is happening in your life is more important. As I'm teaching, what is happening in your life is actually what is more important. Now, notice this is why I told you to do the reflection of get 5 people who have ever impacted and go and sit them down over coffee and tell them, hey, you tell me I have impacted you. Tell me how did things change? Give me the journey. What was situation before? What was situation after? What were the experiences? What were the struggles as you go through that? How did really my life and what I did really impacted you? It is always good to take note of what is happening in other people's life as you do what you're doing. Because it's nothing, purpose is it's nothing to do with what you're doing per se. It is what is happening in other people's life as you do what you're doing. I don't know how I can be able to bring that concept clearly. So the best explanation I can give here is about medicine. If I give you Panadol inside, it has reagents, it has various components that make Panadol, and the manufacturers always list for you and tell you it contains paracetamol, I don't know how much, percentage, 50%, contain another thing, I don't know how much percent. Do you know in that Panadol, you may find only 30% of that Panadol is helpful to you. The rest of it is preservation. There's material which is a carrier. If you take capsules, there is the carrier, the container, and something that is to help preserve what we call the active ingredient. I hope you get that. The active ingredient is actually the purpose. Now, this is one of the things that I struggled with in the beginning in my journey. Because to get the active ingredients, you may have needed to study the people who are beneficiaries a lot as you do what you're doing. That active ingredient is one of the critical components of purpose discovery. What is happening in other people's life as you do what you're doing? So when I hear people say my purpose is career coaching, I tell them, no, that's what you do. Career coaching is what you do. My purpose is do organizational transformation, or that's what you do. But what is happening in that organization as you do what you do? That is more important. Just to give a story or my own experience here, and I think I've shared it maybe several times before in my chats or in my conversations. I told you I have 3 areas that used to be confusing to me on which one is my purpose. One, people used to tell me I make them see bigger picture. So if you met me in 2010, the things that I was dealing with, people telling me I make them see the big picture. So it's like I make you see a supermarket in a kiosk. So you share a very small idea, I'm able to amplify and make you see the world inside that village. Number 2, I was a uniting agent. I was a catalyst for uniting things, people. So I'll go somewhere in a church, I speak to a chama, and I'll make the chama come together, and they form a chama, or maybe even there was no chama, I make them form a chama. Out of it, there are some few circles that formed, or investment clubs that formed out of my talk. I'll go to speak in a church. Later they tell me, by the day after your talk, we formed a circle, we formed a chama, we formed an investment club. And maybe I didn't even intend them to form it. But out of my engagement, they form. Or I speak to people who are in disagreement, they agree, they reconcile. So again, I find myself like, I'm also a person who make people reconcile. I almost maybe started then a reconciliation center, but that's actually not necessarily my area. But it's true even today, I can speak to people who are completely fighting, 2 opposing groups, and I attract such. I don't think there's any place where I find myself in a very lousy environment where people in harmony. I would always find myself in places where people are in drift and they are fighting. And I know, Jane, as I say this, you can almost connect. And maybe the more I interact with life, I never now run away from such because they are normal. I attract them. I don't find myself working in very smooth environments. I always find where this one is fighting this, and I'm there now as a catalyst in between. And I have to exercise kind of a lot of wisdom to kind of be able to navigate that. It's very normal. Now, I used to confuse that those then are purpose. And I discovered no. When I journaled and I started even interviewing people, I started observing, of course, getting spiritual revelation around how comes I unite people? How comes I make people with small ideas see supermarkets, kiosks, from kiosk to supermarket? How comes? And I started being intentional and I raised consciousness of my life. You know what happened? The singularity of all that was very simple. I make them change and transform their thinking. And more particularly, they are able to get a sense of purpose in what I'm doing. So the singularity for me is around what they are going through in their life as I do what I'm doing. I'm making them change their thinking, transforming their mind, and that's the reason why now they reconcile. They feel like, by the way, we have also asked ourselves, why were we having a drift? We were very stupid for us to be drifted by this minor petty thing. It's them now shifting their thinking and they're seeing things differently through my interaction. So they are my active ingredient. What is active in my life is actually that transformation of their mindset. But not everything. It's in the direction of purpose. Finding, of course, there can be a sense of meaning and purpose in that conversation. And that make people converge or kind of even have a reconciliation. So the reconciliation is what you see now, but is what has changed. That is number 4. How do they change and it transform? The moment I discover that I'm able to make people see things differently, and maybe you can tell me, I'm not so sure, what happens is that I became more conscious. Anywhere I will speak, the consistent feedback will always be, I had not seen it that way. No, you have made me see a different perspective. You know, it's very constant in my life. I discovered I have a grace. That kind of a grace. It's not something even I have gone to school to learn. No, that's a grace you have and you can't help it. Even when sometimes I'm invited, like Jane, when you're told to go and speak in a forum which you are not prepared for, I also get some of those things. Anytime I even go to speak in a topic that I was not even rehearsed, there is one constant. People tell me, you know, I had not seen it that way. You've brought a new perspective. There's a way in which that thing, I had not seen it in that direction. And yet maybe I had not even rehearsed about it. It was just a random talk. So it's normal. And it's always good to discover that in your life. It's going to help you a lot. Now, only after that, we get now into another. These two, number 4 and number 5, are the epitome of the whole program we are doing now. The reason why we are doing this process, all these 10 weeks, do you know why? It's number 4 and 5. If you hack those two, we are done. If you get to know how you impact people, how people change and transform through your existence, and then who do you need to become so that you do all number 1 up to 4? You go backwards now. Who do I need to become so that then I fulfill all what is below? Do you know what? If you do this, yeah, our program is done. 10 weeks is done. That is actually the discovery. When you discover how other people change and transform by your existence, how your life make the other people change. How do they change? Not what you do, how they change. And number 5 is what do you need to become? Who do you need to become so that you can be able to do? So your doing is okay, that's the impact model, but then the becoming become critical. Those two are the convergence. Now, from there, from number 6 up to number 10, I can almost say you can even apply your MBA knowledge. If you have done any class for visioning, if you have done any strategy, if you have done any management planning, anything from number 6 to number 10 is actually almost academic. I'm sure most of us are in corporate. Those are things you have done. Because note, like number 6 is visioning. I mean, vision is very straightforward. Now you can start having an intuition of the future, the impact multiplication of the future. If I know I'm modeling and I'm nurturing and I'm molding purpose-led leaders and purpose-led coaches, now I can vision my 10,000. That's very easy. Vision become very easy. Now I can start visioning. So from number 6 and number 10, I can tell you almost, you can even apply your knowledge in planning, strategy, all those things that you do even in the corporate. You can apply actually that knowledge from number 6 to number 10. But if you lack number 1 to 5, and you notice what people do, I hope you can see the gap here. Many people, when they are doing life coaching, they start with a vision. I hope you get that in your experience. Many people will tell you, come I help you set goals and vision board. But that vision board is anchored on what foundation? That's the question. So therefore, that vision board mostly doesn't become effective because it is not anchored. Number 1 to 5 anchors you. Number 6 to number 10 just help you grow, multiply, sustain. You can see the inverted triangle. It helps you have growth, scaling, and sustainability. But the blueprint is established by number 1 to number 5. I hope this is helpful because this is actually like the epitome of what you're doing here. So my focus is to make sure that you have clarity of these parts, the number 1 to 5. And of course, number 6 to 10, you'll need it because it helps you then grow and multiply your impact. Number 7, after visioning, you need to define values and principles that you live your life under. Again, this is usually a confusion. People mostly confuse convictions and values. And I know you're going to go through that because next time I would like you to come with an attempt to do this mapping, then you tell me, then I can be able to correct you. I like, first of all, you do it before even I show you mine. Eh? I like you doing it to your version. Come, I know it's not going to be perfect, but I like where now you come and show us, what are the principles, what are the values, because by you doing that, then I correct you, you learn better than when I show you an ad which you see, it's likely to get a shortcut there. Now, principles and values, these are like laws. Principles are laws, literally. Laws. They are laws. And laws helps you safeguard. It's like the way you put something in the fridge. And the way you put salt in meat so that you preserve the meat so that it doesn't rot. That's principles and values. They also help you make your impact predictable. When you have principles, you can predict results. It's as simple as that. Let's go to number 8. Number 8 is strategies to hack your growth, or channels through which you're going to hack your growth. Remember, I told you, anything that doesn't grow is not living. The evidence of life is growth. I don't know whether it's in the previous talk or is the other, because I know I do so many talks throughout the week. There's one, I think I was trying to remind people, growth should not be optional. Why is growth not optional? It is because by you not growing, you are denying other people to enjoy your redemption. What do I mean? If Jesus never had a strategy for growth, and you know, Jesus' strategy for growth was purely through discipleship. Strategy for growth or discipleship. Discipleship was number 8 for Jesus. The strategy to hack growth. Why? He needed to spread the good news to the world so that more people can be able to be redeemed. You can imagine if Jesus died and never commissioned disciples to go to the world. Babylon would not have known salvation or good news even today. So why you need growth is because you need to extend your grace to others. If, Jane, you are called to impact youth, and of course youth in Africa, but you don't have strategy for growth, you're only impacting your village. There's somebody in Maputo, in Sadton, in Nigeria, Lagos, who need your redemption. How do you reach them there? You need strategy. That's the way I'm happy at least now we have started getting some warm-up in Uganda. Because it's part of our strategy for growth, in terms of getting a regional footprint in Africa. And I'm trusting God, hopefully next year we're going to get into like 5 countries. But there has to be a strategy for you to hack that growth, literally, okay? Now, number 9 is building your capacity. Now, you may not, this is a very sequential. There's a kind of certain order you follow. Very critical. There's an order you follow. Now, the issue of resource development and capability is very important because you need also to make sure now, at this stage now, you start asking yourself, what do I need? You don't do resource planning before the strategy because you need to resource your strategy, okay? You don't start saying, I need to do a PhD, I need to attract people of this caliber, I need to build a center. You don't do that before you have defined your strategy. So your resource comes to finance. It's a financing model now. The resource model helps you finance the strategy. It helps you fuel the strategy, okay? So this is the reason why I keep saying our education system have a problem. I always believe that we should not be in a situation where we are busy going from one degree to another, one master's to another, then now you look for a job to do. That's wrong. You should first of all find work to do, then you study. So that then what you're studying, you're applying it in the work. But we have a wrong ideology where you accumulate all the knowledge, then now you start looking for a job to do. I am very radical in terms of how I view that space. I would love where a teenager start working. We stop calling it child labor. No. Start working. As you work, you identify the things you need to develop. Now you look for school to develop the thing so that you do it better now. But usually do the other way around. You study, you do things, then now you start saying you are unemployed. That's a very wrong ideology. This is the reason why I usually say we should have a way of discovering our purpose early enough. So that by the time you're doing that MBA, that master's, it is informed by what? So you can see, how do you do capability for that which you are not sure about your life? That's why many people are doing their third PhD, they are doing their fourth master's, and they are frustrated even more and still are not fulfilled. It's because they didn't start with a blueprint. Jesus invested himself too much in the beginning. He starts off aligning himself in the synagogue, in the church, with the Pharisees, arguing cases. His blueprint was more clear from the word go. In fact, he pronounced it before. You actually know the kingdom of God has come. He made that sure before because he knew his purpose before. Anything else he did was over now, was kind of built on that foundation. That the kingdom of God and is here now. That's what he was bringing. Now, number 10 now, you can say, how does success look like? And you can talk about your life impact metrics. Your life impact metrics. I love numbers and measurements. So this is one of the areas I love most. How do you measure your life worth? How do you measure your impact? Because if you can't measure, you can't celebrate it. Because after this now, you can go celebrate. So sometimes you celebrate the wrong things. Celebrating finishing a PhD, finishing a master, celebrating getting a new job. Is that really the celebration? Here now we go to real impact. What are the life impact metrics that you need to celebrate and that are attached to your purpose? Ladies, because I don't have a gentleman today, ladies, you know this is actually this is purely the essence of all our program. It is to help you populate these 10 things. And when you do this, we are done. I can bet, and I give a disclaimer, it is not something you do it one time. The cohort I had in January to March, I remember, there's one of the engineers there who told me he's doing, I don't know, I think version 7 or version 8. I think by now he's doing version 8 of the purpose map. And I want you to be very ready for that. You're going to do so many versions of this map. It is not going to be clear up front. Sometimes you say, you think this is the confusion? And then you discover, no, it's not. You do it version 2. You think this is your niche? Then when you come and discuss it here, you discover, by then, that's what I thought was a niche, was not a niche. It is not a very one-off thing. No. Expect iteration. That's why I promised after we finish the 10 weeks, I'm going to give you 2 sessions, 2 one-hour sessions, personal now, where we go through even your map. By that time, it will have taken a shape. It will going to be more clear at that point. So it's something that even in the next 4 months, you keep reviewing. Myself, I did 5 revisions. I have 5 versions, and I'm going to show you the what I call the original version. I have the first version of my purpose map. And the way it evolved, it has evolved now to become more refined, more refined, more refined. Right now, at least, it's more clear, more clean. It's a bit more high level, but it's because I have cleaned it up over time, but I can define anything that is in that map right now. Remember my emphasis in the beginning, the law of, notice where the singularity comes now. And I hope you can connect all the dots from the past. When we talk about purpose, is about becoming. It all boils down. Because the moment you discover how people are changing, then you converge into who do I need to become more? That becomes your investment for life. Who do I continue becoming so that I fulfill the mandate? Jesus had to converge into becoming the Messiah. That's what he's becoming, the Messiah. But in between there, he's saying, I'm the way, the truth, the life, all those things and all that. But all those have singularity. The singularity of even Jesus himself is just that, the Messiah. That one that was to come and redeem man back to God. Simple as that. But you can describe his coming in so many things. You can describe the way to the cross, crucifixion, so many things you can describe. But the convergence, what you call singularity, was just one. That seed of the woman that was come to crush the head of the serpent. Simple. Become the Messiah, liberator. Simple. So who are you becoming so that then you can achieve the purpose? You discover that's your most important question in life. And that's the singularity of life. I hope things are tying up. I want to pause there again just to have a quick reflection of the map. If you to take a screenshot if you can, no worry, but I'm going to share it on the group, no worry. But this is actually what is going to form all our conversation in all the other 7 weeks. It's going to be in this only, nothing else. But it's going to be helpful. It's going to be iterative. You're going to keep on going back and forth. Do version 1, version 2, until you have reached up to version 7 there. Don't give up. Can change your map 7 times until it is clear. As you do this, kindly, do it prayerfully. Because sometimes you might do it just by your own cognitive knowledge and you end up doing the wrong thing. Let this process be prayerful. That's why I cannot help to remind you to make sure you're doing it in meditation, exercising mindfulness, so that at least you're able to make sure at least it's not necessarily your own things. Remember, purpose is given by God. However, from my own experience, because at least I have worked with many and hundreds of people, at least when people are obedient to be reflective, prayerful, the kind of results I get is always very fascinating. I get very nice testimonies with it. So make sure you do it prayer-free, do meditation, kindly commit in the next few weeks where you spend like 20 minutes every day in a quiet time, reflecting the map only. And you pray about it. Read scripture the way God will guide you, reaffirm, all those things. Try to do that intentionally. The next 7 weeks, I strongly believe you're going to start seeing things or dots connecting together. And that will be my joy. Quick reflections as we almost wind up today's session. Oh, thank you, Barbara, for reminding me what I was talking about the Thursday, about the growth. Good, thank you. We had a webinar on that. I think this week I have several already, so I was forgetting when I talked about that, the issue of growth. Good. Quick reflections about the purpose mapping. Where do you think you might have a struggle?
For me, I think it's revelation about the impact model. You're always very convicted of what you are doing to people.
Yes.
Or what is your mission to them.
Yes.
But now looking at whatever you're doing is not purpose. What is happening to them? The transformation. Perfect. Is it? I don't think it's a place we spend time.
Yes.
Or not. I spend time. You're only thinking what you're doing. You're this. But I don't think I've had time to reflect back. What's the transformation? Yes. I think for me that was where I had an aha moment. And yeah, thank you very much for this map. I can already start feeling goosebumps all over. Yeah, there'll be a lot of things to unpack and I'm already seeing. Yeah, so that was big. That should just stuck on my mind. Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Barbara.
Yes, thank you, Coach. Thank you so much. I think I've been driving along that line, but then sometimes you tend to mix number 6 to come somewhere at the forefront. So what my take home is that I need to reflect more first from 1 to 4. And as I was trying to internalize the model, I look at it as the way we do business. If you don't start with the first 4, you're bound to fail. It's like a feasibility study. Mm-hmm. And then you position yourself within that feasibility study. What is it that I do that should impact, or what is it that I can do best here? And then people get to know me for. Mm-hmm. So my reflection is that I need to be intentional in terms of looking at the needs of the people. Yeah. I look at what is it that I can do to place myself within that spot or that space of the needs that other people may not have, and see how I can develop my mission, my mandate. That's what is it that I'm supposed to be doing, and then it will flow. How am I going to do it? Also will come in and then flows through this model. It's very helpful in my mind. It's already cooking, and I think that's what I've been missing. Thank you.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, Barbara. I hope you can see what I want to differentiate between how we approach purpose coaching from the other type of coaching, because that's very helpful, because you'll find always people getting emptiness sometimes. As I said, you can be coached to succeed in the wrong direction. Purpose gives you a very solid foundation and also direction. So give you foundation first. That's why the number 1 to 4 is critical, because I'm more aware. And I don't know whether you remember one of the sessions we had, and I talked about 2 important things, and I've repeated in almost all my talks: raising or having an elevated consciousness and established convictions. Those 2 statements are not just statements. I can spend a whole day just talking about that. In this whole journey, you are going to discover actually what I'm trying to challenge you is actually first to build a certain environment of vulnerability to have an elevated consciousness. Like now, I'm very careful whenever I interact with the people to see whether what is transforming in their mind, what is happening in their mind as I do what I do. It's something now I'm more aware. It's like a default now. Initially, I wasn't. I was more focused on, I'm invited from one church to another, one chama, speak to a corporate, tomorrow in another corporate, one boardroom to another. Very, I was busy running, doing. Or even doing this coaching. Sometimes you just organize groups, have a sessions, and you tick a box. I talked, I coached, I mentored 10 people. Until when I start with a minute, what is transforming in these people's mind or in their life as I do what I'm doing? It's a elevated consciousness. So in the beginning, we have not very correct intuitions about it, no worry. But as you do an iterative process, your intention, 1 year, 2 years, right now, I don't struggle to know how I impact people. I don't struggle. And I don't matter whether you drop me in Dubai, you drop me in Singapore, you drop me, it doesn't matter. Wherever I have gone and I have a moment of engagement, even in very diverse areas, sometimes I find myself doing very diverse things that even are not necessarily even trained to do sometimes. But when I find myself doing that, at the bottom line, I will always find how I impact people doesn't change. There will be something that people will come and tell me, hey, that one, there's something that we have picked, yet probably it's a field that I'm not used to. So that elevated consciousness is very important and be vulnerable. Only God, of course, can help you do that, because that's a very spiritual aspect. When you talk about consciousness, very spiritual. Even convictions, they are not just knowledge. You can know things, but lack convictions. That's why it's very hard to divorce this component from a spiritual dimension, because your spiritual angle helps you be more vulnerable in establishing convictions, you conceive, and of course, you're able to have an elevated consciousness. Jane, yes, I know it's kind of can appear very overwhelming, but do you know what? Don't focus even with from number 6 and above. No worry. In fact, from next week, we'll spend like 2 or 3 weeks where we'll only be talking from number 1 to number 5 only. Only those ones. From number 6 and number 10, do you know I can cover in one session? 1 2-hour session, I'm done. From number 6 to number 10, I only need maybe one session only, and I'll be good to go. But from number 1 to number 5, we can even take another makeup classes to have another 10 sessions to do only that. We are going to spend more time there. So what I'll usually do is every week now moving forward, every one of you will be sharing. I'll be speaking less. You may notice this first session, I'm speaking a lot. From now, next session, the reversal will happen. You'll be speaking more than myself. So you'll be coming and then you tell us, these are the convictions that I have so far sedimented, and you tell us the why. Remember the caution, convictions are not necessarily knowledge. It is the truth inside the knowledge which activates you and must be founded on an absolute. Absolute means something that does not change. The best way to do that is from the word of God. Let the conviction be consistent with what the word of God says. Because if you have a conviction that is outside there, it is going to be tested. It is not going to be sustainable. So those are principles of convictions. It might be founded on truth that is also in the word of God. That truth is absolute. Truth is not relative. It's absolute. If it's founded on that, it becomes very easy. Or then it's founded on principles of life or nature that is unchanging. But you'll always find it will always be consistent with the word of God. So like for me, when I show you later, I'll show you my map next time, you'll find in my map I started with the 5 convictions. Those 5 convictions are all biblical, but they are all pointing towards needs. Those needs in people are not just needs. When you tell me I empower people out of poverty, don't tell me from a humanistic approach. If there's not truth in it, because the same word of God tells us there will be always poor amongst us anyway. So why are you eliminating poor people, and God tells us there will always be poor amongst us? So you have to be very careful on sometimes making very generic statements that are more just humanistic aspects. Let there be a very deep introspection about that need. That's how you develop convictions. So it should be based on knowledge of truth that really convicts you and set you on motion or into action. The niche, of course, you tell me, this is, no, for you to get the niche, you have to observe your life. Sometimes people that you are attracted to, even when you try to chase them away, they will always come back. I think I gave a story of the pastor who tell me anytime drunkards will always hang around him, even when he has not invited them. Or you find yourself consistently, there's a certain clique of people that will always be attracted into what you're doing, even sometimes unconsciously. And sometimes when you try to chase them away, or they become like a bother. Yet they are coming to seek. You have grace in you, they are tapping. It's like trying to prevent a bee to go to the flowers. Hope you get that analogy. The bee smells. I don't know, the time that you started a beekeeping training, I don't know, it is smell, is it 100 meters? I've forgotten that. The bee smells nectar, I think almost 100 meters. I'll try to Google that again. Almost 100 meters away, the bee can detect the nectar. So people you are called to impact, let me tell you, they smell you even when they don't know you, Jane. They don't have to know you by person. The grace in you, they smell it from a distance, and you'll find they'll be attracted to you. The people you're supposed to impact. If you're supposed to give financial empowerment, you'll attract people who are miserable, who are in debt, who are struggling with it, or who are struggling financial issues. They will always come around you. And the kind of will always detect, Barbara, I think I need to hang around you because you are the person who is meant to dispense, because you're like a dispenser. You're dispensing that to them. That's how it works. So that's how you get your niche. So again, of course, now the issue of the impact model, that's the toughest of all. How do they change and transform? There, go back to my assignment. Identify 10 people that you have ever impacted grossly in their life. Sit them down and don't be in a hurry. Ask them questions that to be vulnerable to tell you, how did it change? How is the situation? If they are telling you, oh, you are such an encouragement, tell them, okay, so what happens in that experience? How did I become an encouragement? You might discover you became an encouragement because you made them stop denial. And then become, oh, I'm a person who usually challenge people to make them face the truth even when it hurts. That could be you and you don't know yourself. Or maybe you tell them absolute truth, naked truth that is so brutal, but brutally honest truth. What they want to deal with it is up to them. You never know about you. So you can make people be encouraged by different ways. So try to sit them down and get that feedback, but also have a discerning spirit to be able to detect how your life transformed them. You'll be shocked about yourself after all. And then, of course, you keep on now being more intentional, raise your consciousness about it. And then slowly it becomes something very natural to you. After that now, I can assure you, life takes a different trajectory. You're able to be more intentional on how you impact. You're able to be careful on the environment to put yourself under, relationships to attract, who you need to collaborate with to become very easy now moving forward. So God bless you so much. It's time. I hope today's session was quite a build-up of what you've been doing. Now you can see why I was telling you to reflect more on those questions that we started with, self-exploratory sessions. They are very critical. You can't do the map without that part. It's very hard. So the map, those exploration helps you create a resource base, which now you start now come and put them together. And don't fear, put the way it is. It's not going to be very accurate, but through the session, that's why I'm here. I'm going to help you validate your mapping as time goes by. Any comment or questions or parting shot as we close? Jenny, you're good?
Yeah, thank you so much, Gabriel.
All right,
This
welcome.
has
Barbara,
been
you
really
good?
insightful.
Welcome.
Yes, coach. Thank you so much. We'll keep in touch. We'll keep in touch in terms of guidance. So
Awesome.
hopefully we'll meet Saturday with something.
That's okay. That's fine. That's okay. And feel free to take some screenshots on your environment.